Hi, it's Kent Vaughn with Blaze Performance Solutions again with another video about leadership. You remember we've talked in the past about three big ideas around leadership. The one we're going to talk about today is who are you as an individual? So I believe the three basics of leadership are who are you, how do you lead, and do you get results? We're going to break this who are you as an individual down into two different parts so they're not quite so long. But I'd like to begin with a quote we've all heard many times by Emerson that says, "What you are shouts so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying." And I think this is so applicable in human interaction, and particularly when we are trying to lead other people and lead our own lives. That people are watching what we do. And it's really difficult to, as my father used to say, talk out of both sides of your mouth. Say you want people to do this, this, and this, and I'm doing exactly the opposite of that. I don't have a lot of respect for people like that. So to me, one of the foundational characteristics of who are you as a leader, who am I as a leader, is honesty. Now, you know what? We learned in kindergarten exactly what honesty was. You don't take someone else's pencil, you don't take someone else's eraser, you don't eat their lunch, you don't cut in front of the line, you're honest about those things. And we all know that. It's interesting how easily we can forget that. I heard a gentleman tell a story several years ago about being out to lunch with some of his wealthy business friends, and he was a business owner, but much smaller business, and after lunch they stopped by the newspaper rack. Now back then you bought newspapers out of a rack, and they were 25 cents a piece. That was a long time ago. And he said, the wealthiest guy in the bunch said, "I'll buy." And so he put his quarter in, opened the front of the newspaper rack, and pulled out a paper, and then said, "Who else wants one?" Well, 10 guys want a paper, so he handed a paper out to 10 guys. This man who told the story said, I said, no, I can buy my own paper for a quarter. And the guy, and he said, I said to that guy, he was a friend of mine, "What are you doing? You're stealing $2.50 worth of papers from this kid, this newspaper boy." Back then, they tend to be newspaper boys. I was a newspaper boy long decades ago. And he said, "Hey, it's just a few quarters. It's just a kid, probably paying for his motorcycle. It's not a big deal." And he thought, if he'll cheat the newspaper boy, who else will he cheat? If he's dishonest over $2.50, what will he be dishonest about? How will he act when it's $25,000 or $250,000 or $1 million? He said, "I vowed then that I would never do business with him." I thought how ashamed I was and how ashamed he should have been that he'd steal 25 cents times 10, $2.50. So foundational to everything, I think as being a leader is when it comes to who you are, is honesty. If you can't rely on my honesty, now I'm not saying everybody's perfect, but if you have made a mistake, go back and fix it. Number two, closely related to that, is integrity. Integrity has been described in lots of ways. I love what C.S. Lewis said when he said, "Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching." Now, at the newspaper debacle, a lot of people were watching. But you know what? There are a lot of times when people are not watching us. And the question is, do I act with integrity? Do I act in alignment with my own personal values and principles, even when no one else is watching? In this day and age, with the internet and all the things going on, it's easy to say no one's watching. Well, the fact is there are people watching, but at the moment, no one's seeing what you're doing. And yet, we're still responsible for that. And when that comes out, by the way, it always comes out. It may take a year, it may take a decade, it may take the rest of our lives. But is that the stuff you really want to come out? And as we look at some great people over the years who kind of fell off the pedestal at the end, that's what we tend to remember. That mistake, those things they did where they weren't living in alignment with their own personal principles and values. They weren't living with integrity. Now, the last idea I want to talk about with respect to this is a statement I heard someone say, and you've heard it in several ways, I suspect, over the years. He said, "Your behavior in public should be above reproach. Your behavior in private should be equally honorable." I'm going to say that again. Your behavior in public should be above reproach, meaning no one can question whether you're doing the right thing. No one can question whether they're being honest. No one can question whether you're being a person of integrity because they can see you doing that. But he also said the last half of that is just important. Our behavior in private has to be equally honorable. There's no shortage of honor out there. Or maybe we should say there is a shortage of honor. There's no shortage for the need for people with honor and integrity. There's no shortage for that need. Now, I remember as a young soldier living near the East German border, I took my captain to the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment to visit, and we needed to give a presentation about, it was an intelligence analysis report about what the Soviet soldiers were doing on the other side of the border over in East Germany. And I remember as we got out and started walking around that the soldiers all saluted my captain and said, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was essentially, "Born to serve, sir. Born to serve, sir. Born to serve, sir." I was blown away by this. I was blown away by their black berets, by their attitude, by their discipline, and that idea of we're born to serve. Now, why was that so important? Because the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment in the late 70s, when I was near the East German border, was the first line of defense at the Fulda Gap. If the Soviet Union and the East German soldiers and all of them ever came across into Germany, a few hundred miles north or south, that was the only place big enough that could let large troops, movements and equipment through, the Fulda Gap. So they were guarding. This small cavalry regiment was guarding. And they would be the one that would send up the signal that said, hey, someone's coming. Not just an electronic signal, but a communication signal saying, hey, something's happening. Their life expectancy was about 12 seconds if a battle came. They would be there just long enough to warn us, the divisions behind them, what was coming. They had a great sense of they were leading the free world, and they were protecting the free world by what they did. No wonder they said, "Born to serve, sir." Because they felt like they were born to serve and to make a difference. You were as well. You were meant to be a great leader. You were sent to this earth, this world, this life with great potential and ability. If you've gotten off the track and aren't exactly who you want to be, I'd ask you to fix it. Start working on it. Make the change you need to do, or that you need to make, to help yourself do the things that you were sent here to do. You have tremendous innate potential and ability. I hope you're using it. And if you're not living up to that, I hope you'll revisit that and ask what you need to do differently. Well, thanks for who you are. Thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for your goals and desires to be more effective leaders. This is Kent Vaughn with Blaze Performance Solutions. Have a fantastic day.